Tonight I'm making blackened salmon and roasted asparagus. We've actually been doing a lot of cooking this weekend. So we had some really nice weather Friday, and Saturday morning was just, it kind of started to go downhill from there. We just had rain all day Saturday afternoon, and we had tornado possibilities as well. So most people just stayed inside most of Saturday, and it was really cold today too after all of that blew through. So we had a bunch of people over for brunch on Saturday morning, and that was super fun. And then we went to church this morning, but other than that, we've just been hanging around the house and having a nice weekend in, and I've actually been doing a lot of cooking because of that, and trying to catch up on some things around the house. So I made a few different, like a fruit casserole and some, hey Lauren, and some Kaneka sausage for brunch the other day. And since my husband had to miss out, we had brunch again after church. And so I made up some, all different kinds of Kaneka sausage. If you're not from Alabama, Kaneka sausage is local to South Alabama. It's awesome. I'd never heard of Kaneka, period, until I moved to Alabama. And it was a few years after that before I even tried it. My husband's mom made it one time when I went down to visit in Mobile, and it was great. So that's a favorite in our house. Hey, Ashley. So I made that and scrambled eggs, and we had some leftovers from brunch yesterday with that after church. And I was like, okay, so I'm going ahead and I'm making all this stuff, and actually did some breakfast meal prepping for the rest of the week. One of my friends had posted some ideas of making these little egg muffin cups, and so basically you just, throw, your meats or your veggies or whatever, and you fill it up with scrambled eggs in a muffin cup and bake it. And I thought that sounded like a perfect, easy breakfast thing. And so I already had all the Kaneka sausage and the eggs out, and so I just went in and put those all together and baked those in the oven. And so now those are set for a few mornings this week. So yeah, a lot of cooking this weekend. But tonight we're having salmon for dinner. I asked my husband if he wanted steak or salmon. He's like, I'm always going to choose salmon. He loves fish, growing up near the coast. So salmon's actually not my favorite fish. I tend to like more white meat fish, like mahi-mahi or tilapia, just things that are a little bit lighter. To me, salmon has a little bit more of a fishy taste, but I'm willing to eat it now. That's something I've grown a little bit more okay with eating, but I like to douse it with all kinds of flavor, and whenever I cook it, I usually make it blackened just to kind of make it a little bit less fishy for me anyway. So I'm doing blackened salmon. Oh, that's so funny. You had salmon for dinner too, Ashley. So I'm going to turn this around. He'll eat any kind of meat. This kid's a carnivore. So I went ahead so our asparagus is washed and dried, and I cut the tips off, so you can see my tips are over here, just like the more woody ends. You can see they're a little bit lighter, but they're a little bit harder. So I usually just cut those off before I cook those. Okay, and then I went ahead and opened up the salmon. So we usually get our fish from Trader Joe's because they flash freeze it at the docks, and it tastes super fresh, and it's really convenient too. So as you can see, I kind of found a few little bones that I went ahead and picked out, especially with salmon. Sometimes I find bones in fish, so it's kind of good to keep an eye out for those. So, and I can bake both of these at 350, so that makes it really, so I'm going to just do a little bit of salt on our asparagus, and then, can I get a little cameraman, please? Sometimes I always forget that I need two hands to really grind the pepper, and I like using fresh ground pepper, so it's nice if I have an extra set of hands. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to do a little bit of pepper on the asparagus. And roasting asparagus is my favorite way to do it. Roasting different kinds of vegetables, I think, turns out really well. I like this better. I feel like it has more flavor than just boiling asparagus or something. So you can get it kind of crisp, tender in that. I'm just going to drizzle a little bit of olive oil on top of that, and then just mix it all in. And because you're pouring the olive oil in, that also helps kind of keep it from sticking to the pan. So you don't even really need nonstick spray, although that just gives you a little bit extra help from keeping it from sticking. All right, so the asparagus is all set. Super, super easy. And so we have the salmon over here. So I'm going to do just a little bit of olive oil on top of the salmon. It's skin side down. After you cook it, the skin comes off really easy. So I usually peel the skin off after it's cooked before we plate it. I don't like the skin at all. I think it's yucky. If you do like the skin, all props to you, but it's just not my favorite. Okay. All right, so that's just kind of moistened up. We're gonna do a little bit of salt. Doesn't have to be as exact. And then I'm gonna do a bunch of pepper because we're making it blackened. So tons and tons of pepper. I think you do get a little bit more of a kick out of freshly ground pepper than normal pepper. Just some regular black peppercorns in here. Just doing lots and lots. So Sam's Club actually has a frozen blackened salmon that we used to get a fair bit several years ago when Dane was still in middle school and I was working all the time and really weird, crazy hours too. That was when I was at the midnight store. Those were super easy because you just pulled them out of the freezer, you popped them in the oven, and those were already de-skinned as well, so you didn't even have to worry about that. But I found that getting fresh salmon and cooking it, it just tastes a lot fresher. Getting it, preparing it yourself than pre-seasoned. And this is wild salmon too, so I think there's definitely an improvement on the taste when you get the wild salmon versus farm raised. Okay, so there's like a ton of pepper on it. And I'm also gonna change it up a little bit, and I'm gonna do a little bit of rosemary and a little bit of thyme, just to kind of give it a little bit of a different flavor to it. We have some leftover roasted sweet potatoes from Friday night, and I put a little bit of rosemary and a little bit of thyme on those, and so that'll make this go really well together, this that I already made. Yeah, so just a little bit of a sprinkling. You can kind of rub it in a little bit if you want, kind of get it all in there. But yeah, it's tons of flavor, but pretty easy all at the same time. Okay, and then you just pop them skin side down into your little baking dish, and if you line it with tinfoil, it makes cleanup really easy, and tinfoils also are. Okay, I'm not sure how much we lost there, but I like to line with the tin foil because it makes the cleanup really easy and also it doesn't stick. And Shaunalee, I usually get my salmon from Trader Joe's. I don't know if I said that before, but we like to get, they flash freeze their fish, all of it, right after it's caught at the docks. And so it's almost like getting fresh fish, except it's frozen. So I love that, and they have like a lot of different kinds of like wild fish, which I feel like the flavor comes out a lot more and it's a little bit healthier than farm raised, whether it's salmon or there's this like cod we sometimes get, Dover sole. There's they have swordfish. Like we like getting mahi there, but it's really hard to find. It's hard to get in season. But okay, so anyway, so we're lining it with foil, and then I cover it with foil too because that locks in the moisture, so your fish doesn't get dried out. Just kind of steams it and bakes it all at the same time. Your asparagus, you don't want to cover. You want it all the if you covered it, it would just steam, and the flavor really comes out a little bit better if you roast it, and it's a little bit sweeter, and you're going to get that crunch to it. So you want your asparagus to be crisp tender. You want your salmon to be cooked all the way through to where it flakes. And it's opaque, and so I'm going to pop these both into the oven at 350, and it's already preheated my oven here. It's already 350. The asparagus will probably only take about 20 minutes, and I'll check it, and the salmon will probably take about 30. But either way, it's about the same time at the same temperature, and it's all super easy. And then we'll heat up the leftover sweet potatoes to go along with it, and we'll have like a full balanced meal. And those are all things that James loves too, so it'll be fun for him to eat. So hope y'all enjoyed this recipe and tips, and thank you, Emily, for giving me the idea to make the egg muffin cuts for breakfast this week. I appreciate that idea. Y'all take care. Talk to you soon.